Welcome to another episode of The New Birth of Me, where we get to unpack the challenges, the stretching seasons, and uncomfortable moments to get to that place where God is birthing something amazing in us, in you, and in me. I'm your host, Michele DeCaul, and I'm excited to be here again with you with such another dynamic topic. The last time you joined me, I talked about strength for the stretch because I was going through a season. I couldn't understand why was I feeling this way. I was feeling tired, feeling fatigued. And so I just spent some time with the Lord and allowed him to give me the understanding. And so that's why I'm here. I wanted to kind of, share this with you because it may just bear witness with you. I just believe life should not be a life without God because he's the one that interprets, gives us the understanding and the awareness as to the seasons that we're walking through. And when we have that understanding, we can bear it all differently. We get a new perspective and a new understanding. And so that's vitally important to me, right? It's not just arbitrarily getting up every morning and it's like, hey, Sarah, Sarah. No, it's literally seeking God so he can give the instructions. It's being in prayer and then taking action after that, but doing it after his instructions and not off of people's opinion, not what's on trending on the news or through my emotions or through fear or through an accomplishment, and you ride in high and you make a decision on a temporary season or a temporary moment. Not at all. I've been through too much to be able to just deny him. And so I try at every point, if I can, to make sure that whatever I'm doing it through the lens and the vein of his heart. And so that empowers me. And it allows me to bring to you just a little understanding, a little awareness. I hope that even as we journey through and share today's topic, which will be part 2 of strength for the stretch. Strength for the stretch. And so we talked about so much last time and we shared 4 points. And if I can just briefly remind you of that, point number 1 is we need strength to complete what we've started. Point number 2, we need strength to handle multiple roles without losing ourselves as women. Point number 3 is strength to push through resistance and distractions, where I definitely talked to you about anytime God gives you a yes, right? You're going to have resistance and distractions really trying to block you. And you got to be careful that you don't go without the strength of God to be able to push through it. And then point number 4 was strength to make clear decisions when your mind is tired. Talked about mental and decision fatigue. It's a real place. And you got to recognize it and you got to know what that looks like and how it shows up in your life. So again, if you want to get that information, go ahead and listen to the previous or episode 1 of Strength for the Stretch. I know it's going to bless you. So today we're going to move into point number 5. Point number 5, here we're talking about strength for the stretch. As I mentioned before, sometimes we get fatigued. I recognize I was tired, I was fatigued. And sometimes there's a physical fatigue that we can have that we need a power nap, right? A good midday power nap sometimes does the body well. But I was actually wanting to go a little bit beyond that because the tiredness and the fatigue that I was experiencing had nothing necessarily to do with the physical tiredness, but it was literally a tiredness that that will require more of me. And I know if I'm talking to you right now and you're in a season where it's requiring more of you, and we'll get through seasons in life, there'll be certain intervals in life where we're going to feel this requirement, if you will. And if you don't understand a requirement, you can get frustrated. You can throw in the towel. You can actually procrastinate. You can get overwhelmed, overanalyzed, and be totally off and not discern it correctly. And so as we're talking, see if this bears witness with you, because I do believe there's an answer in it for you that will help navigate you so it'll keep you in the proper positioning with God and to also bring him in closer, maybe to develop a prayer life so that you can be more consistent, so that in prayer you can gain understanding, right? So strength for the stretch, right? Point number 5, strength to grow through the stretch so that you don't break underneath it. Ah, so good. Strength to grow through the stretch so that you don't break underneath it. If you don't have the proper strength, Can I tell you, you can break from the pressure. You need the strength of God to help you grow through this season and through the stretch. Sometimes when you're stretching, I can take for an example, I remember when I had a trainer in the gym. And so what he would do is he would put me on some of these crazy, crazy exercises, whether it was squats or using the machine to build biceps and all of that. And sometimes when we're getting through that last rep, and she, whomever that would be training me, they would say, "You can do it," and I just want to break because the pressure, the weight of what I had to push through, it was so much. I wanted to give up in the moment. I wanted to break, and they would not allow me to break. And can I tell you, sometimes life, the weight of life can sometimes bear down on you so much that you want to give up and you end up breaking under. Have you ever broken under the pressure of the season, of the assignment, of the not knowing? Today, we want to talk about how you can stretch in the uncomfortability so that you can begin to experience the expansion. You see, when you don't break under the stretch, you actually start expanding. And so what my trainer was doing was building really new muscles, right? Sometimes you got to strip the muscle so that you can build back the muscle to be even stronger, expanding, working on the body so that it can now handle even greater weight. And life will require us to be able to stretch so that you can stretch to bear the capacity of what is to come. The little things we do now, the simple principles that we follow, the disciplines, the commitments, literally helps us to bear the weight of what we will have to go through in the future. So when you're going through it, it's not as uncomfortable. You'll feel it, but you'll say, you know what? I can do this because I've been in training for it. And so the stretching is necessary for the expansion. Without God's strength, stretching feels like pressure. Yes, it feels like pressure. It feels like weight bearing down on you. With Him, it becomes development. I'll say that again. When you allow God to stretch you, give you the strength for the stretch, it now becomes development. It now begins to develop you. When you go through adversity, when you go through life changes, when you go through opposition, you don't just look at it as face value, but you have a different understanding. You now ask God, can you give me strength for this moment? I need your strength. I remember as I was journeying through my diagnosis of stage 4 breast cancer. Oh, there was plenty of times I just wanted to tap out, but my faith would not allow me. And can I tell you, I had pequeño, very little, to start the journey. And it was in the journey, He was stretching me and stretching me and stretching me. He would speak to me, right? He was giving me the strength. When I was saying, God, I'm too weak. And He would say, my grace is sufficient. For when you're weak, I'm made strong. And so I've understood that even going through the valley of this journey of getting to the other side of cancer, it literally was developing me under the pressure. It was developing me. And when I looked at it initially, I just wanted to cry and just give up because it feels like I was going to tap out because all of the lies and the whispers that come with being diagnosed with a fatal disease, if you will, right? With a fatal diagnosis, everything in me wanted to give up. But God's voice, the still quiet voice of hearing Him, was encouraging me not to. The little faith, the mustard seed of faith that I have was keeping me in this race, fighting. And so when you do it with Him, when you gain His strength and not stay in your own strength, guess what? It's developing you under the weight, right? If you feel like you've been asked to carry more than you're used to carrying, yeah, you need His strength. If you feel like you've been pulled beyond your comfort zone, you need God's strength. If you're in an unfamiliar territory without clear footing, you need God's strength, right? If you feel like you've been growing faster than the process could even allow you, you need God's strength. When you feel like the world is responding at record speed, right? You need God's strength. Why? Because that can overwhelm you. You've not been here before. Can I tell you? We've not been here before. This is a new day. And even for new days, every single day you need his strength. And we talked in the last episode how strength is also reflective of his grace, that we can't do it without his grace. So when we talk about strength, it literally is almost like an onion. We get to peel back the layers to see all the richness in getting his strength. Our strength can sometimes just be one dimensional, and sometimes it's not enough. Our strength is not enough for all that God has for us and what he's requiring of us. And so when we understand that, we engage God and we ask him to be able to interpret this season. Give me some understanding. So as I get the understanding, now he puts on me the wisdom. He puts on me and gives me the grace that I need. In those moments, stretching does not feel like growth. I'll say that again. In these moments, stretching does not feel like growth. It feels more like pressure, right? It feels like pressure. Without God's strength, that pressure, can I tell you, will lead to frustration. We talked about frustration a lot, but frustration can come in different ways and have different meanings. There's not just one clear path to frustration. Frustration can take on different scenarios, different meanings for different people, depending on the season that you're in. Frustration, when things don't seem easy anymore, I'm frustrated. I don't know how to figure it out. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated. It's not working out the way I thought. I'm frustrated. Because it's not working out doesn't mean you're not in the season that you're in. It just requires you to be able to ask for the right thing. What is it you need? I need strength for the stretch. I'm frustrated because I'm at a small capacity, and this situation is stretching me beyond what I'm accustomed to. I'm not used to this. Guess what? I need strength for the stretch. Resistance to the very process that you're going to. Sometimes when we're growing, when the growing is uncomfortable, we want to resist it. That's not what you're supposed to resist. Rather than resisting your growth, you need to ask for the strength to be able to manage where you're going. Sometimes in the frustration, we want it the way we want it. But God says, no, I'm not going to give it to you the way you want it. I'm giving it to you the way I planned it before you were even born, before you even got here. I know what you need. And what you need is my strength so you can get through it, so you can see me working with you. And it's a partnership. That's it. It's a partnership. And so God will give you his strength so that you don't resist what you see. Right? You don't talk yourself out of it. You don't walk away from it because you understand I'm in a space of expansion right now. It's very unfamiliar, but I'm in a place of expansion. And when I'm in expansion, that means I'm going to be growing differently. I'm exploring, I'm discovering. And what seems uncomfortable, rather than resisting it, ask God for strength, ask God for insight, ask God for his understanding so that you're able to make it through. Right? Without God's strength, that pressure can lead to emotional exhaustion from constantly feeling on edge. I'm on edge. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm here. And now you're just not knowing how to decipher, right? When you don't have God's strength, that pressure can lead you to urge, I'm going to shrink back, right? I'm going to shrink back so I can go into a safe place. A place where I'm most familiar. How many times? Because we know what it feels like to be in a certain season, I know what the comfort zone feels like. So it's more comfortable to shrink back into the comfort zone, right? Your comfort zone, you've got your own couch, you got your blanket, you got all the comforts of life right in your comfort zone. The moment you step out of your comfort zone and you don't have those things, you feel like a fish out of water. And so when things get like in that space where you don't understand and you don't have God's strength with you, you want to tiptoe back into your comfort zone. And that's not where you're supposed to go. Because if you stay in your comfort zone, you won't grow because now you're in control. You're in control. So this is where we can't go through it without God's strength. When we make the shift, can I tell you, when you shift, stretching is not meant to break you. When you understand that, you're going to mentally shift to know that stretching is not designed to break you. It's meant to expand you. That's the capacity, right? We need to expand. We need to increase in capacity. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me does not mean that you can do everything. You're not the jack of all trades, right? But what God will do is no matter what you're going through, he will give you the strength to be able to manage with that position or that situation or that assignment, what it comes with. I can do all things because he strengthens me. He stretches me. He gives me the capacity to be able to go through it. He gives me the capacity to abase and abound. I'm able to endure. Doesn't mean that I can do everything. No, he's expanded my capacity so that I can do this one thing, right? This hard thing. I can get through this hard moment. I can get through this stretching season so I don't break under it, but I stretch through it. And as I stretch through it, I expand. What he does, he gives me grace to grow at the pace that doesn't damage me, right? We need grace that it doesn't damage us. But what it does, it gives us a pace that we're able to keep up with. And we need that because sometimes if we move at a different pace, or the pace of somebody's opinion, or the pace of the expectation of others, it stops us from really being in that alignment with him. We need strength for the stretch so that we can keep up with the pace of what God wants for us. And not the opinion of your mother, not the opinion of your family members, your father, your friends, your coworkers, your supervisor, right? I can go on and on. Sometimes, not that they may be wrong, but sometimes I need to see and feel the pace of what I have with God. For his pace allows me to be and stay in it because I've got the revelation of where I am. And not everybody understands the revelation. Not everybody understands that he's stretching you. Because sometimes your stretch may look uncomfortable and people will tell you, you know what, give up. Don't do that. That ain't God. And you're like, whoa, 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 wait. Because it doesn't look like what we're accustomed to, or doesn't look like their role or what they went through, they may deter you to get out of it. And so this is why it's important. You must understand, discern where you are. I need strength for this stretch because I know right now he's increasing my capacity and he's expanding me for what that's going to happen, what's coming up in the future. The other thing is when you do it with God and you gain his strength, he gives you a perspective to see stretching as preparation and not punishment. Sometimes if we don't have understanding, you may think that the season of pressure, right, which is giving you development, you may perceive it as punishment. Pressure in God is not punishment, but he's adding a little bit on you to squeeze you, to stretch you, to expand you. And that's a good thing because we don't want to stay the same. If you're not growing, you're getting dull. If you're not growing, you won't be satisfied. If you're not growing, you will not be fulfilled. If you're not growing, you're stagnant and you're stuck. So we need this in our lives, right? So what's challenging you? What's challenging you in this season? What's putting pressure on you that has you in alignment with God? It must have you in alignment with God that you will know, you know what? I know that I'm supposed to be here. I know that this is uncomfortable, but I know God is calling me here and I'm moving in that space of alignment. And this is preparation and not punishment. Because every stretch is increasing something in you. Remember, the whole idea for the new birth of me is to be able to understand and get to the thing that God is birthing and growing you in. The new birth of me does not come without birthing pains. The new birth of me does not come without the stretching. How can a baby come through a womb of a woman and she not stretch? It just doesn't make sense, right? We're going to find ourselves stretching in life in various seasons. You're going to be giving birth to new ideas and new plans and new concepts and new strategies. And when that happens, guess what? You got to stretch. You got to bear down. So you can't run from it, right? The new birth of me, it's birthing something great. And when you have that mindset, knowing that something great is going to come on the other side of this, even though it's uncomfortable, you stay in it. I know as a woman, when you give birth to your baby, there is pain, there is uncomfortability, Because that stretch, yeah, that stretch comes with pain and uncomfortability. But on the other side, you get a bouncing, beautiful baby that you love, right? That God gives you. And that's the same thing with life. That life, the purpose that God gives you is going to come with stretching seasons. So we have to be able to know how to increase in the strength, right? Because you know you're carrying more. You're carrying more. If you're listening to me today, right now, can I tell you there's more in you? You're carrying more. And when you understand you're carrying more, you won't settle for the comfort zone. You won't settle for where people want you to be, where they think their expectation. Don't settle for expectation, right? You're carrying more. And when you're carrying more, you've got to stretch. When you're carrying and God is causing you to stretch, your ability to trust God, you got to trust Him at a deeper level, right? Your faith has to increase. Your faith has to expand even more to believe. He's taking you into the unknown. There's a deeper understanding and a deeper level that you have to meet God in, right? Your relationship with God becomes deeper. And so there's no compromise with that. So in that, there's a stretching in your prayer life, stretching in your relationship, stretching in the trust. When you're able to stretch in trust, you'll weed out the doubt. When you're stretching in the trust, you begin to weed out the fear. Fear no longer controls you. Doubt no longer controls you, right? You're just leaning into God deeper and deeper. And as you're deeply leaning into Him, your capacity starts to grow. There's that expansion that takes place. Your ability, when you allow Him to stretch you, your ability to operate in new dimensions of your purpose, can I tell you, your vision opens. You get sight for more things. It begins to literally percolate new ideas, because the more steps you take in unknown territory, it begins to allow you to see what you couldn't see before. Things become possible in your comfort zone because you're seeing the same thing over and over again. It actually short circuits your creativity and your vision. That's why you've got to step outside of comfort into uncomfortability so you can stretch to see. You'll get bored with life. And if you get bored with life, you start doing some stupid stuff that does not align, and it takes you farther away. This is why we need the strength for the stretch. I need to stretch so I can see more. I need to stretch so that I can do more and satisfy the things God has called us to be. Think about it. You can't step into more without being stretched beyond what is familiar. You can't move into the more unless you are able to stretch beyond the familiar. And so, point number 5, you got to stretch to grow. You got to stretch. You need the strength to stretch in the strength, right? You need the strength to stretch, because if you don't stretch with the strength that God gives you, you can actually break under it. And so you got to do it with God. So that was point number 5. Point number 6, you need strength to stay consistent when motivations fade. When motivations fade. This journey that we're in called life, we have to be in it in alignment with our purpose. Every day is not going to be a great day, right? That's why we have to stay plugged into our purpose, because our motivations can shift. It can fade. It can go in and out. Not every day you're going to feel inspired. Not every day you're going to be excited. Not every day you're going to be energized. You need more than that. That's why you have to be grounded in your purpose. You have to be purposeful. So when life is changing, when your energy is fading, and when you're not feeling motivated, you can go back to your why. Why am I doing this? You're going back to your purpose to realign you, to plug you back in, to make you focus, right? There will be days when you just don't feel like showing up, right? There are going to be days when the passion feels quiet, like you're not even hearing a bird chirp. You're not hearing the engines flowing. You're not salivating off the next idea, right? The excitement is no longer that thing that's loud, right? When your purpose feels like, when you feel like it's distant, right? When that that space you're in, it feels like you can't even reach for it. That's the moment when a lot of people stop and they turn around, they start doubting. Well, maybe this is where I'm not supposed to be because I don't hear it. I'm not inspired. I'm not excited. My motivation for this now is fading. And now you start checking out and you're disconnecting. Can I tell you, when you're in your purpose, right? And it's going to get hard sometimes. Like I told you earlier, or maybe it was in the last episode, when God gives you something, when there's purpose, you're going to reach opposition. That's not the time that you waver. You got to stay in it. This is where the growth actually happens. It's in these moments when you press past it. This is in these moments where you ask God, I need strength to stay in it. I need the strength to be consistent. The consistency is not built on how you feel. The consistency is built on what you choose. And I'm choosing to stay. I'm choosing to be committed to my purpose. My purpose is what gets me up in the morning. It's the purpose that brings you to confidence. Your purpose allows you to stay in the lane that you have been created for, born for. And in your purpose, you're constantly becoming. And can I tell you, in that you need strength to constantly evolve and become. And so it's not something you take lightly. That's why you can't just go off of inspiration and motivation. You got to plug in and remember your why. Why am I existing? Why am I doing this? And the why now becomes that place where the sustaining grace of God will allow you to continue to stay on the journey. When you're like those moments or those mornings or those days when motivation or that place of inspiration, I want to call it inspiration. And you know what? I'm going to tell you this. Motivation, that's why we can't be motivated, right? Motivational speaking. This has to be something that's given to you by God. You have to connect with God. It's your purpose. And it has to speak to purpose. Motivation is something, it's just kind of I'm motivating you, rah, cheering you on. But what happens if those chairs start to fade away? You need something more than that, right? When it's fading away, the motivation is fading away. When people put down the pom-poms and you don't hear them calling you and you don't get those accolades, what are you left with? We can't depend on that, right? His strength becomes your discipline, right? That's why we can't use motivation. You need the strength of God. That's what motivates you, because it's in his strength. He'll remind you. It's in his presence you become accountable, right? When I'm not doing something, when I'm not in that space with God, because God is going to remind me of the things, because he, as I mentioned, he's the author and finisher. He's the one that gives the instruction. And when you don't follow that instruction, he's going to bring you back. Did you do what I asked you to do the last time? He's your accountability partner. When he gives you a plan, he's going to take you back to the plan. When he gives you the vision, he's going to take you back to the vision. And so that is what keeps you accountable to him, not motivation. Motivation is fleeting, right? But God, the purpose that he gives you keeps you locked in and keeps you focused. His faithfulness becomes your model. God's been faithful to you. If he allows you to rise in this particular day, in this hour, this season, that means there's more. And he's faithful to your cause and your purpose. You begin to move, not because you're inspired, because you're anchored. What are you anchored in? You're anchored in your purpose. You're anchored in God. And in being anchored, you ask for his strength because you trust him in the process. And when you're anchored, now you continue to push towards what he's called you to do, whether it's that business, because you know you're going to have some ups and downs, but I'm not moving from this place. You may not have all the money right now, or it doesn't seem like it's prospering right now, but I'm staying committed. I'm staying consistent because of what he told me. And I know that as I'm going through this uncomfortable season where I may not see it the way I think I should see it, I'm trusting that God is with me. He's been faithful. And in the faithfulness, I'm guaranteed that at the right time, in the right season, because I am moving in the strength of God and he is stretching me and expanding me, guess what? That season will connect where I'll see the fruitfulness of my labor. Here's a scripture we can actually stand on. Galatians 6:9, it says, let us not become weary in well-doing, for in the proper time we will reap if we don't give up. There's a harvest waiting. When you're consistent, when you have grace, when you have God's strength, and you're committed and you're devoted and you're not moving based on motivation, come on. Listen, you're being anchored in what he said to do. He'll water you, you'll grow. And there's a harvest that comes in your consistency. Never tire in doing what is good, right? Never become tired. Never become tired. He will give you the strength. You can rest one day, but get back in it. Don't give up, right? Stay focused, stay committed, stay disciplined, right? Stay in it. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Consistency is powerful because when you're consistent in the promises and the will of God, it says, I trust you, God, above what I feel. I trust you, God, even when I don't feel strong. I trust you. Can I tell you, that's a place where you have to push yourself past what you feel to be able to believe what is true. I trust you, God, even when I don't feel strong. I trust you, God, even when I don't feel confident. I trust you, God, even when I feel weak. I'm committed to you, even when it's not convenient. How many of you all can say, I'm committed, even when it's not convenient? I'm committed, even when I don't see it happening. I'm committed, even when it's not aligning with my expectations. I'm committed because you said it. I'm committed because I trust you, right? I will continue, even when I'm not celebrated. I'll say that again. I'm going to continue. I'm going to stay committed, even when I'm not celebrated, even when I don't have someone patting me on the back. I have to be my own cheerleader. I have to trust God. He's the one that's saying, keep on going. If he gave me his strength for the stretch, that means he's celebrating me. I have to trust him in that. Because sometimes when we don't get the accolade and the clapping and the attaboy or attagirl, we give up and say, oh, this is not the pathway. No, that's not where you give up. Right? You got to stay in it, celebrate. And can I tell you, in that, God has a wonderful way. And even in the scripture, if you faint not, if you don't give up, there's a harvest. There's a harvest. So you got to stay anchored, anchored in God, anchored in purpose, anchored in discipline, anchored in commitment, anchored in the strength that he gives you so you can expand, so you can give, so you can pour, so you can do all that he's called you to do. Say, I trust God. Say, I'm committed. Say, I will continue no matter what it looks like. That's your faith speaking. Don't ignore faith, especially when it's lined up in your purpose. And here's the truth. Most people don't talk like this. They don't. It's not normal. It's not usual, right? We listen and actually devote ourselves to our emotions or what we feel. When you're linked and you're connected in your purpose and even in your faith, it's not about what you feel, but we got to live in the truth. Breakthrough is often hidden inside of repetition, right? It's those daily yeses that you give. It's that quiet obedience. It's the unseen faithfulness. That's where transformation lives. Can I tell you, the reason why I'm sitting here is the number of yeses I gave God. It's the number of yeses. It's not in my own strength, by no means. But because I said yes to God, I'm committed. Because I said yes to God, I'll continue. Because I said yes to God, I trust him beyond my feelings, beyond motivation. It's because he said it. And so I'm willing to do whatever he says to do and not allowing a day or, someone applauding or not applauding to deviate me from the stretch, because I need his strength in the stretch. And this helps to define that in certain seasons, you're going to feel this way. So don't allow motivation to be your guide. Allow God's strength to keep you inspired and plugged into your purpose. For when you're plugged in, that's where transformation, that's where growth, that's where success, that's where you begin to see the fruit of your labor manifest. And so my last point, as I conclude this series, strength for the stretch. Number 7, strength to protect your peace while getting things done. Yay! How many of you all need peace to get it done? What's the opposite of peace? Chaos. What's the opposite of peace? There's this place of pressure, right? It's bad pressure. Not good pressure, bad pressure, right? There's a lie many high capacity women believe. If I'm not stressed, I'm not working hard enough. That's a lie. Sometimes as women, we have to be so busy wearing multiple hats, right? Sometimes we think busyness is the evidence of or doing something. It's showing people I'm doing something that, like, if I'm not doing it, people won't believe what I'm doing. No, you don't have to choose stress to prove who you are as a woman. You don't have to choose stress to show or be the evidence of, so you can get the approval of people. Can I tell you, wearing yourself down? You need the strength of God to move you through. You don't have to do those things to be in chaos and the stress and the expectation of other people. You need strength to be able to have peace in the things that you do. I want peace. For peace is what allows you to avoid the stress. The pressure is not proof of your purpose. You being stressed out is not proof that you're in purpose. Sometimes it could actually show your chaos and that you're not in control of what God has given you. And so we have to be mindful of the message that we're sending, especially to our daughters, to our children, to the people that we're leading, the people that see us every single day, that we're constantly on the phone, on the computer, moving from pillar to post and on the treadmill of life and producing just a little, and then we're getting sick. That's not living a life that's enjoyable and excitable and fulfilling. High pressure stress is not fulfillment. It's actually putting negative pressure upon you. It's like putting yourself in that space of anxiety when anxiety is not necessary for the assignment. If you're anxious, be anxious. And the Bible tells us, don't be anxious in well-doing, right? But prayer and supplication, make your requests known unto Christ. That means, again, you cannot do this life without the prayer petition and inviting God in so you don't take on the anxiety of this world or the pressure of your emotions. Sometimes this pressure can be misread to make us feel and think that this is the evidence, the proof of us having this successful life. Can I tell you, if you move on this as your octane or your fuel, you have to keep doing that. And that's not living a life that is healthy or living a life that shows those around you that you've invited God in. Matter of fact, it shows that you actually excluded him and now you're in your own strength, doing it in your own way. God never designed you to complete your calling, your purpose, your mission, while constantly feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and depleted, right? Depletion is also the evidence of fatigue and tiredness. When you're depleted because you're overworking. And so you're stressed and trying to prove yourself to people around you. He invites us to produce from a place of peace, not from pressure. God invites you to demonstrate, what does it look like to manage all of this in a place of peace? Can I tell you, when you're able to manage all that God gives you in a place of peace, that's the evidence of how he's moving with you effortlessly, moving with you, where you are actually partnering with him. And sometimes we have to demonstrate our partnership with God. Sometimes we say a lot, we can be quoting scriptures and praying and doing all this stuff, but the evidence of your life is not showing the peace in your partnership. Are you demonstrating the partnership with Christ and doing it in a way that peace is being demonstrated so those around us can see the evidence of your peace relationship with God as you're producing? Peace is not the absence of responsibility. It's the presence of God in the middle of what you're doing. Your yes may say you have a full schedule, but yes to the stretch in this season may demand more of you. Your internal posture does not have to match the chaos that's going on around you. It takes more of you to be able to manage with peace than to go with the chaos. It's easier to go with chaos than to go with the peace. So you have to pull back, ask God for strength so you'll know how to develop the boundaries, So you'll know how to stay focused. So you know how to stay disciplined. So you know how to give your yes. What do I need to give my yes to? And what do I not need to give my yes to or give your no to? Right? When you're able to do that, you're governing yourself and moving in a place of peace. God's strength will allow you to move with clarity and not confusion. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be moving in a state of confusion. Confusion will debilitate, weaken, and deplete you. But if you're in clarity, you're making clear choices. You're confident, you're committed. And that confidence literally translates to the people around you in such a way that they want to have what you have. How did you do that? Oh, that was the strength of God. That's the grace of God. And you can be able to articulate that and describe it because what we're doing is going beyond, quote unquote, a nap time, right? This is actually pulling on the supernatural strength of God to get you through. It's not articulated through what we see naturally, but this is the strength of God, the revelation of God, the understanding of God, and what he gives and deposits when you invite him in to those moments, these new seasons where more is being required of you. When God's strength, when you allow it, you respond instead of react. How many times you've been so busy, someone asks you a question and all they do and all they get from you is an attitude. You're angry, you're impatient. You don't even have time to listen because you're so busy. You don't have time for your children, don't have time for your spouse. You don't have time for those that you run, the team. They have questions for you. They want to pull on your knowledge, but because you're so busy and you're not moving in peace, you are irritable, you're anxious, you're overworked. And when you're that way, you don't give the people the best of you. You only give them the reactionary side of you. And can I tell you, that's not a place that people want to see. And people will now be hesitant accompanying you because you're too reactionary. They don't know if you're going to blow up or you're going to shut down. There's no even or middle ground with you because you're operating outside of peace. You're not displaying the peace of God. It shows up in your emotions and in your attitude. And that's not a place where we want to be. We want to make sure that even in the growing and the success and the developing and the producing that God gives us, we want to display an attitude of peace, an attitude of love. We want to care for the people around us, not show them our backside, if you know what I'm talking about.